Landed on this town of 32,000, known for a castle whose site was chosen by William the Conqueror. Windsor is about 25 miles west of London. All right, what else is going on in the world? Well, it is the 1 year anniversary yesterday. Well, you got to talk about we do get a new CIA chief here in America. Veteran spy Gina Haspel will become the first female director of the CIA after 6 Democrats joined Republicans in a Senate confirmation vote that overrode concerns about her role in the spy agency's harsh interrogation program after 9/11. The vote was 54-45, and the margin was the closest for a CIA nominee in the nearly 7 decades that a nod from the Senate has been required. Haspel, who has spent several of her 33-year CIA career in undercover positions, is the first career operations officer to be confirmed since William Colby in 1973. Haspel is 61 years old. She's a native of Kentucky, but she grew up around the world as the daughter of an Air Force serviceman. She worked in Africa, Europe, and classified locations around the globe and was tapped as deputy director of the CIA last year. She worked under former CIA director Mike Pompeo until President Donald Trump moved him to Secretary of State. So there you go. That's plenty of stuff. But really, the juicy stuff is that it is the 1 year anniversary of the Trump investigation on Russian collusion. And unlike the president, Robert Mueller hasn't uttered one word in public about his Russia investigation in the years since he was appointed special counsel. And that is rattling just about everyone involved. What's he up to? When will he bring the probe to an end? Doesn't have to say, and he's not saying. A year into the investigation, the stern-looking prosecutor is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. In that time, the breadth and stealth of investigations surrounding President Donald Trump have unsettled the White House and its chief occupant and have spread to Capitol Hill, K Street, foreign governments, and as of last week, corporate boardrooms, with lawmakers eyeing midterm elections and Trump publicly mulling whether he will sit for an interview with Mueller. Republican calls are growing for the special counsel to end his investigation. Vice President Mike Pence and others have said it publicly. GOP lawmakers insist they've seen no evidence of collusion between Russians and Trump's 2016 election campaign. No collusion. No collusion. Let's see if Trump has tweeted this morning that I missed. I've been up for a couple of hours just kind of dinking around, looking on the internet and so forth, and I have not seen that much activity. President Trump is going to go after some abortion or clinics that offer abortion as an option or at least discuss it, and the funding would be cut off for those things. So let's see, what do we have? Trump, the real Donald Trump. I follow the real Donald Trump, just so you guys know. Fake news media had me calling immigrants or illegal immigrants animals. Wrong. They were begrudgingly forced to withdraw their stories. I referred to MS-13 gang members as animals. A big difference, and so true. Fake news got it purposely wrong, as usual. Do you guys agree with fake news, the whole idea? Is there fake news? Fake news? Is that a concept that is real? Is fake news real? 219-845-1100. If you got any questions on it, I'll even take a question on it. All right, another one about, let's see, that was 2 minutes ago, just so you know. 29 minutes ago, because we go at the speed of morning bowel constitutionals. Apparently, the DOJ put a spy in the Trump campaign. This has never been done before, and by any means necessary, they are out to frame Donald Trump for crimes he didn't commit. A guy by the name of Dave Asman is who they're talking about. It was my great honor to visit with our heroes last night at Walter Reed Medical Center. There's nobody like them. All right, what else? Tomorrow, the House will vote on a strong farm bill. You could just do a whole thing on Trump's Twitter. You know what I mean? It really is pretty good. Let's see. Let's see. Congratulations to the House for passing the VA Mission Act. Here's the one I was looking for. Despite the disgusting, illegal, and unwarranted witch hunt, we have had the most successful first 17-month administration in U.S. history by far. Sorry, oh darn, I lost it. Sorry to the fake news media and haters, but that's the way it is. See how it is according to Jeff. Jeff, how are you?
Good morning. So, you asked if people believe in fake news or that it's fake news. And to me, it's like you have a fake president, right, who's being used to legitimize what I honestly believe is also a fake news. So they got him elected, and then they use what he's saying. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like it boggles the mind. The fake news had him on the fake news for 22 out of 24 hours a day until he got elected, and then they used this fake president that they got elected to legitimize their fake news. It's scripted, let's say. Is that an easier way of describing it than fake? I mean, it's not that it's not entirely false, but it's obviously scripted.
I have never heard that theory. I mean, I've heard comments about, how Trump uses the news and so forth, but basically the fake news creating a fake president, I've never heard it put that way. And that's fairly eloquent. The issue is, though, God, there's so many issues in there. I guess you have to accept that news as it is reported to the American people is not real, and it's either made up or deliberately false to push an agenda.
I think the best way to say it is that it's skewed. You have a relatively corporate media, right? It's owned by a small group of people who also have, I'm going to just presume that they have also investments in other things that America is up to. And so they might push a certain agenda along with the little factoids that they have shoved in there.
Okay, here's the presupposition of this argument. And we live in a time when there is more information available to more people than ever before. You could go on the internet right now and you could get information on just about anything you want to get information on. There's really not a lot of places to hide. So when we say there's fake news, if we accept that as a general consensus, we're basically saying that these media organizations control our information and we look to them and they're telling us what to think and what is true and is not true.
I think that's where you're hitting it, is that it's not that like everything they're reporting is fake. I think that's too like blanket of a statement. But like you said, they're telling us how we probably should think along with those facts. You see what I'm saying? And it's constant. So they push an agenda just by what they choose to report on and how they choose to report on it.
Okay, but let's turn that around, okay? What if we lived in a time, I found it. What if we lived in a time that you could choose what you watch and what you listen to any time of any day? In other words,
I think that's what we're on the verge of, and that's what we're experiencing. I think you're experiencing it probably more than most.
And I love it. People are like,
right.
Well, how come you're not covering this? How come you're not covering that? I'm like, You know what? There'll be a dozen people that'll put that on the internet. I can get it right there from them. And to me, there is people want to not have a personal responsibility for their own search for the truth. So that it's just like it's an easy thing. Oh, the media, they're doing this, the media's doing that. And it's an easy blame. And I get that, especially locally. People will call me up. Well, how come, this person did this in their campaign? How come you're not looking it up? Well, I'll be like, well, why don't you go look it up? And why don't
Right.
you report on it and get the information that you want? Because it's right there. What am I, like, just supposed to, like, jump for what you want? If something comes across my desk and it's fairly visible, I'll talk about it and stuff. But there's a personal responsibility that worries me in all of that argument. And that is that people don't want to take personal responsibility for very much in their lives. We need to take personal responsibility for the man we elected president. And there's about a half of the country that won't do that. And we need to take personal responsibility for the information that we bring into our own lives. Nobody wants to do that because it's so easy to say, oh, fake news, it's all messing up the country. What are you talking about? You're fake news. You're the one that can go on the internet right now and get all the information you want. And I
Yeah,
don't mean you, Jeff. I mean, I just
no,
mean
no,
the
I
general
understand.
you.
No, I think to me, like that's where, honestly, today more than ever, you have to trust discernment. You have to be able to 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 look for the fact and look for the difference between fact and opinion.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring in an example here. Thank you. You know, nobody is above getting duped. You know what I mean? And here at this radio station, I pretty much just come in here. I'm in the Erdgaff party. I really don't give a fire truck. Okay. You want to tell me what party I'm in or what my political agenda is? Go ahead and tell me. I would love to have the fervor that many people do for politics. And you can ask my buddies, sit around with Baker and Kuziak and Reardon, and they'll start talking issues, and they know I just fall away when it's just politics for politics. When it has a purpose for the discussion, sometimes I'll get into it. But in the end, I was kind of duped here, and that has even further hardened my own attitude about our local politicians here in Lake County, Indiana. We're known as the corruption capital of America. We just have been so corrupt for so long. It's part of our DNA. And we just had a sheriff go to jail, a Lake County sheriff who'd been in office for, I don't know, 15 years total, go to jail for 15 years. And he used to come in here and sit on Thursdays, every other Thursdays. And I'm like, oh, cool. We have a cop, not a politician. And I was completely duped. And so, where are you gonna trust? The thing to trust in the gathering of information for your life, in my book, is yourself. And as soon as you want to externalize the blame and say, "Hey, the fake media did it," then you've externalized it. You're not responsible anymore for what comes into your mind. It's like eating. Oh, it's McDonald's fault that I'm so fat. Really? You don't have any responsibility for the fact that you can go to Strag Van Til's and buy all this fresh stuff and come home and put fish and vegetables on your table? No, there's a personal responsibility. I get the easily available high carb, high fat foods, and it's very difficult a lot of times to keep driving past them. But ultimately, it's a personal responsibility. And the same thing goes with getting your own information. And I don't know why that is such a difficult concept, because it's so much easier to blame a big idea. And that's how I see it. 604 in the Calumet region. I do want to say that one of the things that is going on, it's been a year since Robert Mueller started his investigation. There's a real danger here of having a president come in and just be under investigation for everything. All right, now I get it that we need to get to the bottom of whether Russia decided or helped decide who our next president would be. or at least helped to influence the 2016 election. And part of that is using the turd state. And we need to get to the bottom of that. But how deep do we go? And I'll give you an example here. It it seems, since we've been the corruption capital of America for so long, that if you're going to get elected to a big position around here in Lake County politics, there's a good chance you're going to be monitored pretty heavily. And we saw that it took 4.5 years for Lake County Sheriff to get Lake County Sheriff John Bunsich to basically take some money on a camera, and they got it. But it took 4.5 years of an investigation and a guy undercover for 4.5 years. It's a crazy amount of time for a local politician. Well, it kind of shows the depth of what we're going to go for here locally, in that, basically you can almost accept that everything you're going to do is going to be under review, perhaps by federal prosecutors. Now, if you extrapolate that situation to the national situation, do we want presidents to come in and just be under investigation the whole time about everything they ever did? Well, I don't want that either. But I do want to know whether Russia helped influence this election, and if there was any sort of agreement with anybody in the administration. Probably not Donald Trump. Maybe his son is what it looks like, or maybe his son-in-law, or maybe Paul Manafort, or Flynn, or one of these guys. Was there any sort of communication? I want to know that. Mad Mac does not want to know that. We both want the same result. We both want Robert Mueller to go on the television one day and say, hey, listen, we've investigated this up and down. There's some issues with Manafort. There's issues with Flynn. But they don't seem to touch the White House, and we're going to end this investigation, and let's go on and be Americans. I mean, that's what I want. But I also want to know what's going on with Russia. Let's hear from yesterday. Let's watch it and hear it. And then at the end of this, that'll be the end of JED America, and I'll go on and do my local radio shows. Here it is. Me and Mad Mac trying to figure out. He doesn't want to know. I want to know. That's the difference. Zip. All right, here we go.
On Facebook for some of the most have you ever seen any of those ads, Jimmy, that the Russians put on Facebook?
I just saw the ones that they released the other day, and now
and that was in 2018, right? So you never saw any of them during the election at all, did you?
Well, I think that's the idea, Mad Mac. I'm not going to see them. I wasn't either. They didn't have my information, or I wasn't targeted. I didn't see them. No.
No, nobody saw them. And if you actually saw them, you'd have looked at I saw like 100 of them. Okay, like right after the election, they were talking about this, and I'm like, you couldn't tell if they were for Hillary. Some of them you couldn't even tell what they were even trying to tell you. Okay?
Well, I mean, I think what you're arguing right now, Liz. Okay, hold on a second. You're arguing is was it effective? That's what you're arguing. You're arguing, was it effective or not effective?
It was almost non-existent.
Okay, but I think that if you precede that and you look and you say, one of the, I guess, the concerns here is, did the Donald Trump campaign try to influence the election by getting together with the Russians? That's a question that has not.
There's nothing, Jimmy.
Okay, and I understand that. And then, honestly, I'm starting to think that, eventually this thing's going to wind down, and Giuliani's going to engineer some sort of soft landing here. But you can't argue the effectiveness, because, I mean, the similar. Let's look at.
What do you mean the effectiveness? Tell me one person who says to you, "Hey, Jim, I changed my vote from Hillary to Trump." Find me that one American.
Okay, but
find the one.
Okay, I got you. All right, I got what you're saying, but let's just say,
with you, but
yeah, well, because there's another side to it, and that's one of the things that is kind of lost sometimes. But here's the deal.
I think it's
let's
lost
say
in your head.
nobody changed their vote. let's just say not one person in America changed their vote, okay?
No, let's not.
No, let's say that. Let's say that, okay? Just hold on. You got to listen. Let's say that not one person changed their vote in America. But the Trump administration and the campaign did get together with Russia to try to make it happen. So they tried to do it,
Jimmy,
but they didn't change it.
Tell me
okay,
one thing.
We don't have that evidence, and that is the year-long Mueller investigation. To me, whether or not it changed the election is secondary to if it was tried to change, and that is a big question. You got to answer that.
It's a question with an answer of the null set. There's nothing there, bud.
So then why do we have this massive investigation? Why do we have Republicans and Democrats alike going in with the Mueller investigation? It has the entire
You don't have
focus.
Republicans. You've got
plenty of
Trump Republicans, and they're
so everyone's out to get Trump. That's what this boils down to.
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning, yeah, but now that the guy's becoming a success, I actually heard yesterday that it was on WJOB.
All right, so there is the rub when you're trying to understand this. I think that discussion right there, and you can go watch it from yesterday on Facebook, kind of encapsulates it, is that there are people that either think they already have the evidence that there is no attempt to control the 2016 election, or they don't want to know. And that's the biggest rub in America right now. Do you want to know? Do you care? All right, guys, that was JED in America. Thanks for watching.